Good morning, America. Thanks for starting your day here. Good to have you with us. I'm Vanessa Broussard. Election security is heating up before the midterms, and changes are coming to mail in voting. States must now notify the United States Postal Service with a list of voters. USPS then must verify that the ballots a state claims it's sending actually matches the list provided. There will also supposedly be markings and trackable barcodes. To help break this all down is candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, Philip Parrish. Philip, thanks for being here with us today. You wrote an article that you posted on your website outlining the change and how this helps the state of Minnesota. What can you tell us about what's inside your article?
So the most powerful part of the President Trump's brilliant idea is the fact that in Minnesota, ballot harvesting has another layer of depth here regarding identity theft. So in Minnesota, when people claim that illegals or people that don't belong on the rolls don't vote, that's a half truth. There's an identity theft concept going on that allows people to put in the names of people. They ballot harvest it through identity theft and have those ballots mailed to one address. So, for example, an apartment in Minneapolis, you end up with a couple hundred ballots all mailed to the same address. This is a very under the wire type of concept that people haven't been talking about enough. But this ballot harvesting they do, a lot of it is identity theft. So President Trump's brilliant idea and the post office following through with this will expose the fact that people are receiving hundreds of ballots to one address, and the post office should be easily able to get some of that under control.
Let's hope that they do because we know that this is going on. And as you just mentioned, this will reduce ineligible ballots, duplicates, harvested fraud, like you just mentioned. And it also shows us any discrepancies that
Correct.
may be investigated quickly instead of buried. You put that in your website as well. Restore confidence for working families, farmers, veterans, the faithful who want their votes counted honestly. This is, like you mentioned, a very good idea by the Trump administration.
Correct. It's very good stuff. And I pray that Keith Ellison is exposed for his efforts to try and squash this. I pray that President Trump and the Department of Justice actually get after Keith Ellison and Steve Simon for their constant hiding of the rolls. And like President Trump and many others at the legislation at the federal level have said, if you're not for this, you have to ask some very serious questions about who these people are.
Right. And you put that in your op ed as well. Keith Ellison is the one leading the charge to block this in Minnesota. But so are his friends, Tim Waltz, Amy
Hmm.
Klobuchar, Ilhan Omar. You have to question what's their motive if they don't want secure elections.
Correct. Because they know that they can't win without the fraud. They know they can't win. They know they don't have the numbers. And Minnesota's press and their rhetoric, they've been amplifying this concept that they have the state locked down with all the votes in the Twin Cities area. It's just simply not true because the numbers aren't there. The numbers aren't there without the fraud.
You're absolutely right. And we are uncovering so much fraud in Minnesota. Minnesota has been, on the front of the fraud that's being uncovered
Hmm.
across multiple states. Just this week, the Trump administration announced it is cutting funding to Minnesota and the state of California when it comes to Medicaid. Let's hear from Kennedy real quick and then get your reaction to what he has to say.
And we have reason to believe that taxpayer money is being misused, especially through fraud. We have a duty to stop the payments, demand answers, and then follow the evidence wherever it leads. If Governor Gavin Newsom or Governor Tim Walz wants this funding released, all they have to do is to provide basic documentation showing that these services are legitimate and not fraudulent. And that's common sense. But the Biden administration abandoned that kind of oversight. Instead of protecting your money, they opened the floodgates to theft. They dismantled basic program integrity and oversight.
Philip, you think it would be simple The funding's
Yeah,
cut
you
off. Here is the proof, but they don't have any. This all fell under their watch. And, we've seen Governor Walz go to Capitol Hill and testify and say, I didn't know this was going on. How did you not know?
they absolutely knew. And one of the things that I did earlier in my career with regards to the daycare fraud that I exposed in 2017, that business model of fake clients, fake services, fake businesses, lists and lists of NGOs and LLCs that were all just companies on paper, and how they were laundering money. That same business model is involved in every single one of these uh, agencies and policies. And so Tim Waltz, I know for a fact that Mark Dayton was fully briefed. And if Mark Dayton was, cognitively able to handle that at that stage, that's another story. But I know that the turning over to the administration, they had access to all of those reports. My colleagues and I did everything we could to make sure that that happened, but they turned a blind eye on purpose. And Amy Klobuchar, she knew about all this at the federal level as well, and they turned a blind eye. And no matter what their original intent was, when you have a pattern of behavior that spans decades, and you had good people like me and my colleagues warn people about how bad things were, and then they turned a blind eye or did nothing about it or ignored, or actually, like President Trump's announcement on last Thursday, the declassified information exonerates and vindicates all of us behind closed doors who were trying to tell people. And why didn't it get there? Because President Trump's information totally exposes the fact that our information was squashed, torn apart, thrown away, and purposefully misled the president, purposefully misled many of the governors across the United States. But especially here in Minnesota, I know for a fact that they were told, and they knew exactly how bad this was, and they knew the business model and how it works, and they were covering for the people. That's why I filed the RICO referral act, RICO referral I filed in October last year. That's the primary reason, especially when Tim Waltz decided to hire Optum to investigate this Medicaid, Medicare, all this stuff, and pay him like $2.3 million, I believe it was. The minute he signed that check, that was RICO level organized crime. He intentionally used a cover up idea, because Optum is the brains behind Medicare, Medicaid, all the data, patient management, billing, and receiving. Optum was part of the problem, and they were already under federal investigation because United Healthcare was under federal investigation, and Optum is a subsidiary of United Healthcare.
Hmm. Wow. It's just a web of criminal activity going on there. So glad it's been exposed. You on the ground there in Minnesota, I knew about this years ago. It really came to light to the public when Nick Shirley uncovered this. It took off on social media like a wildfire, just spread and spread. This is one of the videos where he confronted a woman with apparently a fake daycare. She has been indicted. This woman you see now in the video. Just a lot of fraud going on in Minnesota. But you and Mike Lindell on the ticket to lead the state and clean all of this up. What are the people saying there on the ground? What are you hearing from everyday citizens in the communities there in Minnesota?
A lot of really wonderful things. I'll relate a conversation in a parking lot in Quick Trip yesterday. A gentleman drove up, he saw the truck, and I have a magnet on the side of the truck, and his name is Craig. And he drove up and he kind of stopped me. I was a little startled at first because he drove right up to the side of the truck, and he said, "Well, tell me more, and what's going on?" And he was so excited, and he had to learn more about the campaign. But the fact that he saw the sign and came off the road and drove into the Quick Trip parking lot to talk to me, that's the kind of excitement that's happening across the state, and it's just wonderful to see. Of course, there's the negative detractors, but you know what? I call them happy helpers. These happy helpers, they're helping in the end, because their rhetoric and their insane behavior actually helps people that are sitting on the fence get more and more excited that, you know what, there's something really going on here. And these crazy people, if these crazy people are attacking Mike and Phil, you know what, maybe this is okay, because that's a good sign that they're on the right track.
Absolutely. I'm gonna have to use that one, the happy helpers, because it's the negative that also push you to keep going forward.
Yeah.
Lots of new polls out showing Mike Lindell leading the race in Minnesota. Great news there. Just last night, President Trump, he was up late posting on Truth Social. Two posts went out showing his support behind Mike Lindell and yourself running on that ticket together in Minnesota. So that momentum going into the primary is there for both of you. A big event going on tonight as well. Let's talk about that, Phil.
Yeah, we have a town hall meeting in Sauk Center, Minnesota, Sauk Center High School. And the team across the state, what I call the county ambassadors, a part of the team that I brought to the table with us as a combination. I had this outreach program called the County Ambassadors. Between them and then the team that Mike had in the combination, it exploded exponentially. And the team has been doing a great job across the state. All those shows, shout out to all the county ambassadors. They've been doing a great job talking to people and spreading the word using social media, word of mouth, and phone calls. So the town hall tonight is looking like it's going to be an amazing event, and I'm praying it all goes well, and people are really getting a chance to talk to us in person. That's what I enjoy the most, is actually the town hall type thing where you get to actually talk to people and interact with people.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you. Those are always special to shake hands and get to know your constituents and the people of your state. Going back to your op ed, and everyone knows that Mike Lindell is the biggest voice in America besides President Trump for securing our elections. We talked about how USPS, the changes coming there for mail in voting. Does it concern you that the Save America Act still hasn't been passed in Congress?
Yeah, it concerns me a lot because it's very, very important. We have a situation here in Minnesota where the voter rolls are so contaminated with people who don't belong on the rolls at all. They signed up for a system called ERIC. It's an acronym, ERIC, and that early registration voting system was supposed to deconflict multiple state registrations or double registrations, or you registered at your home and you're at college. It's supposed to deconflict that and remove that. In Minnesota, Steve Simon has gotten away with a repeated, and the DFL, which I call now the DSA, there's no Minnesota DFL anymore. It was dead 10 years ago. The Democratic Socialists of America are dead center here in Minnesota, and they've been running a scam on this for a very long time. And they're keeping people on the rolls that are dead, married name, maiden name, people registered in multiple states. They're not clearing the rolls. They claim they're clearing the rolls, but when they claim to do it, it's always after. So, like coming up here, we have the primary coming up, and they're just going to get started cleaning the rolls in late August, September, October. And that's too late because then you're already printing ballots for November. So everything they do is by design. It's not incompetence. It's not, who's doing this and why are they doing it. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it for the purpose of voter fraud.
Absolutely. It's clear as day what they're doing and what their goal is. But we're going to continue to pray for the best. Again, Mike Lindell, yourself on the ticket. Glad to have you on the team leading the charge. Mike Lindell has his website. I encourage everyone to go to mikelindellgov.com. Philip Parrish also has his website. That's where you can read the op ed as well. Parish4mn.com. Parish4, and that's the number 4 mn.com. Take a look at both of their websites. Donate if you can. If you can volunteer, they're asking for volunteers. We need boots on the ground, people going around the state
Yep.
fighting for a change. Because I have to tell you this story real quick, Phil. I was in the airport Sunday waiting for my bags at the carousel, and some man asked me a question, and we started talking. He and his wife, and he's not big in politics. He kind of knows a little bit about what's going on, but not big. I told him who I worked for, and he says, "Oof, Minnesota needs change bad." So here's a man who doesn't follow what's going on as much as we do. We're in it every single day, but he knows a little
Yep.
bit, and he even knew that
Yep.
Minnesota needs change, and we were in Texas. So
Yep.
the American people know that there's a big mess that needs to be cleaned up in the state of Minnesota.
Absolutely. And there was wonderful people at the event on Saturday that from all parts of the country that were well informed and very excited and very supportive. So it's a really good thing. And thank you all for all the work you're doing. It really means a lot, especially to all of us who've been behind the scenes for decades now, trying to get our voice heard. And I think voice, the word voice at the event was my key word that I picked up on as I was listening to people and listening to Mike. We all have a voice, and don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anybody tell you to sit down and shut up. We all have a voice, and it needs to be heard.
Absolutely. And let your voices be heard. As President Trump said in 2024, make it too big to rig. We know they're going to try. That's their game plan every election. And we have to
Yeah.
get out the vote and make it too big to rig. Phil Parrish, always good to talk to you, see you. Have a great time at the event tonight, meeting all of the wonderful people in Minnesota. And we'll be following this race closely. Again, leading in the polls. Love to see it. Thanks for stopping by today.
Thank you.